When you have ISO speed and Fortnite at the tip of your fingertips, why would you want to waste your time reading an old head like Shakespeare? Most people, especially boys, never find how to really enjoy reading for itself because they've been taught their whole lives just to read books that they don't even like. Think about it. When you were in grade school, most people's introductions is in elementary school. And in this case, the book is forced on you by some adult. He's telling you, you got to read this, and you read it in the end. So already as a kid, kids are really associate books with authority, and they're very associate, look, I got to do this, and it seems more just handed to them instead. Nobody tells them what they like, or they try to like teach them what they like as well. And the other thing is that reading time is limited in school. They did a study recently in the UK, and they found that maybe 28% of schools allow reading in high school, and even then, the reading time is like 15 minutes at most a day. That's really it. And that's hard in the modern school system because think about it. You go in at 9:30, you leave at 4:30, and everything is very segmented. You have one class that's an hour and a half for 4 hours a day, four periods a day, and a 30-minute lunch. There is no time to read because, especially in Texas where I live, kids are pressured to get ready for standardized tests. So the emphasis isn't really on cultivating curiosity in reading. It's just we're gonna read this because we need to go on. Why question it? Don't know. Don't go out. Just gotta read it. And so kids are never learn how to find enjoyment in reading as a means in and of itself. And we're seeing that with young kids even now. In the UK also did a study where they found that the taste books for girls and boys aged 7 to 9 is very starkly different in that the boys are very like books that are more elementary and simple. They had the 10 books listed. 9 out of 10 of them were Diary of a Kid. One was The Hunger Games. Whereas the girls' books range from all types of things, from Harry Potter and the Philosopher and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, so sorry if I fucked that up. The Hunger Games, obviously. A Girl's Guide to Murder. The Extremely Embarrassing Life of Lottie Brooks. Or Heartstopper Volume 2. As you can see already, like, the books differ from each sex. And it's because I think girls naturally like can sit down and like find things like reading very stimulating, whereas boys need a lot more stimulation. They need more active. And like I said, once you're already associate books with authority and it's forced on you, why are you gonna like it? I'm not gonna go read To Kill a Mockingbird when I can just watch I Show Speed to do his stream for 6 hours. And we also see that the girls taste expands as they get older, whereas boys stay still and it just stalls right there, so they're stuck reading these elementary books. Because the thing about reading is that you want someone to guide you. Okay, this is what, if you like this, then you like that thing. You like this author, and they have suggestions, and that's how your taste expands. But no one's doing it anymore. No one's helping these boys find what they like. Now, another reason why boys don't like to read is because nobody's encouraging them to read what they like I said. Because if you have a boy that likes Fortnite or likes video games, what book is actually like that? I wouldn't give him Little Men in that case. And that really sucks because kids are suffering as they get older in high school and in the school system because, yes, they might be introduced to the Diary of a Kid or manga or anime when they're young. However, they fall off a cliff by the time they get to high school because they're getting thrown books such as Catcher in the Rye. And the transition from a book such as Junie B. Jones to a classic like that is very stark, and they get bashed in the head with it and they don't know what to do. So they're not taught what they do. I mean, for me, I started reading when I was in 8th grade. I started with Stephen King. That was my favorite author. I loved reading all his books. I read them voraciously when I was in high school and middle school. Eventually, it did become brain candy to me, and I wanted things more challenging. So then I turned to the classics, not the ones the teacher made me read, things that just interested in me. That's how I went from reading books such as It by Stephen King to books such as One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to even a book that's more niche and specific, such as the first dystopian novel ever written, We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. It didn't happen because someone forced it on me. It just happened naturally. As I progressed, I learned that my tastes changed. I realized I needed something a little more challenging, and no one forced me to do it just because I like Stephen King. And I think there's nothing wrong with manga or comic books. As I'm not saying that. I feel like we need to give them, encourage kids to read them. Because, like, yes, it might not be the most intellectually stimulating thing, but if that gets them into reading, so be it. I think those books have a place in education. Because Stephen King was my gateway drug. Why can't Naruto be some 5-year-old's gateway drug to reading? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want people to love reading in and of itself, just for leisure. Because there's so much loss when people don't read. It's kind of sad that to realize the rate of people reading has been declining year over year. Because there's so much you lose. Not just, I feel like just on a practical, not just on a practical level. Oh, you don't grow. But the thing is that, like, when you read, it's just something about books teaching you how to think. That's the one thing. That's the maybe the most basic thing people lose when they don't read. But the thing is that, why is that scary? Because I think C.S. Lewis said it best. He said that we read to know we are not alone. There is nothing better than reading a book and finding someone who could put your thoughts or what you've thought and felt in words. Because for the first time, you realize you're not insane. And there is something addictive about that. Knowing that someone out there, some white guy from the 1960s or even the 1800s, knew what you were feeling and could put it in words, in concrete terms. There is something about that is just fascinating, and that's what keeps me drawn to books. And it's sad that some people will never realize that. You know, they never expand the texture of their mind. And one other benefit people lose from not reading books is that books increase the complexity of your thoughts. Like I said, I went from Stephen King. Nowadays, I read people like Carl Jung, Aldous Huxley, and Fyodor Dostoevsky. Those are the densest books you've ever seen. You could drown in the words of the sentences they have. However, but it's because I naturally progressed and read more books that I started wanting to searching more, because languages give my thoughts are thoughts, and the more language you have, the more distinction you can make between your thoughts, because the more words you have, you can specify what you're thinking, and the more distinctions you can make, the more accurately you can understand and describe yourself. That is why I'm able to read Carl Jung. I built the patience, I built the vocabulary to understand these words. It is challenging, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. I don't see it as an ordeal. Reading should never feel like homework. Boys never find books enjoyable because they not given something they like to read. Why not give a kid Slaughterhouse-Five? Or why not give him the Game by Neil Strauss? I'm just kidding. Well, that's for later. I mean, too many boys read nonfiction. But fiction is the one thing that we need to get into. Because, like, once you'll see the world in a different light from reading a book. And that's the one thing that people are losing by not reading. You know? And I hope you do read. And if you need help reading, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. I do actually have a link in my bio where you can find books that I have read. These are the best 20 books I've read. I'm still counting, but these are ones that are the best you should read. Go to the link, and I hope you read them. Read on. Bye, y'all.